Welcome to the Skill Talk Disrupt podcast, where we dive into the world of innovation and technology. My name is Malika, and I am the CEO and founder of Skill Talk, which is a recruitment company in the AI space, which operates across the US and also Europe. Today, I have with me Lauren King, who is the VP of Marketing at Speechmatics. She's joining us to talk to us a bit more about AI and the biases around that. Lauren, I'm very excited to have you on here today.
Hi, Malika. Yes, great to be here as well. Fantastic to be chatting about a pretty pertinent topic, I would say, at the moment, as I guess as we've all seen over the past sort of 12 to 18 months, has been the proliferation of AI and with generative AI hitting the mainstream. This has now become something from, I guess, like future facing technology to now being something utilized by many businesses, people, consumers as well. And so it's really critical that we keep focused on what this what AI is trying to do, and the impact that it's having on all sorts of different sectors in society, and ensuring that we are making it as accessible and inclusive as possible.
Absolutely. Totally agree. There's a lot to explore and to discuss around this. Tell the audience a bit more about yourself, your background, and kind of what brought you into Speechmatics.
Yeah, sure. So my background has, in terms of career-wise, has always been in technology. I actually did psychology at university, and then sort of made my way into technology. Always been pretty much B2B, SaaS, many different sort of industries. So whether that was fintech, enterprise communications software, HR software, I kind of run the gamut of different industries there. But then probably about 6 years ago, got into AI technology. And I guess at that point, it was the pre-generative AI, predictive models era, and very much like how we start to take this new, very nascent technology to market, and lots of challenges and learnings along the way. And I think I discovered that I enjoy these types of challenges. And it was an interesting time actually trying to sell AI to businesses, and the trepidation of how do we go about this and lack of understanding. But I think also on that journey, I really started to understand the positive impact that AI can have, not just on businesses from like a commercial perspective, but also on society. And I think that sort of spurred and really inspired me to want to continue my career in this space. And then, that led me to Speechmatics about just over 18 months ago now. And I think one of the key things that really caught my interest about the business was our mission, which is to understand every voice. And it was very inspiring to know that a business had built speech technology, like Speechmatics is a automatic speech recognition API business working across many different languages, that's able to kind of put that inclusivity at the heart of what it's doing, the way that it's building its models, the way that it's building its technology, so that no part of society is actually kind of excluded from being able to utilize the technology and be understood as well. So that was really inspiring for me, and just enjoying my time here so far.
Great. No, I'm really pleased to hear that. And also, it's a female-founded business as well, isn't it?
So not female founded, but we have a female CEO in place. Yes. Again, that was another great point for me as well. I mean, being open, I guess, having spent all of my career in technology and not had female bosses or female board members in the businesses that I was working in prior to that, it was a refreshing change. And I think that's really helped us as a business ensure that we are keeping inclusivity at the heart of what we do, and also like the business decisions, strategic decisions that we're making along the way. I think having that diverse set of voices within the leadership team is really important to continue to think in that way. Yeah.
Absolutely. So you've been in the AI space for several years now. Like, how have you sort of seen AI evolve over the years, especially around the topic of biases?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the key part is that the AI is now in the mainstream. Okay, and that has been the biggest shift, and it's been a rapid shift that's happened very, very quickly. And so I think from our perspective, the businesses that are building this technology, we really now need to be recognizing like what impact is this having on the people that are utilizing the technology, and is it built to I guess make these people succeed, make them successful, support them, and it isn't discouraging them in any different ways. So from my perspective, like bias has now become a very important topic for us to be considering because of the rapid rate of innovation that's happened only over the last sort of 12 to 18 months. So it's important that we do start to focus more on it now. And we see a lot I guess out there at the moment in the AI community about the focus on AI safety, which is obviously very important as well, and that's ensuring that it's safe for people to use and it's not doing harm. But also, I think bias is a key thing, and inclusivity is a key thing that we also need to be considering as well to ensure that everyone is getting the best out of the technology.
Yeah. Okay. And then in terms of the what do you feel that companies should do to take in terms of steps to sort of mitigate biases with their technologies?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think firstly, one of the things is diversity needs to start from within the business as well. And so what that is looking at, like, what kind of culture are we building as a business, and do we have a diverse representation across the business? Like we've talked about gender today, but obviously diversity is much broader than that.
Sure.
And so we need to ensure that we have many different voices within the business, whether that is the engineers building the technology, or even at like the leadership team level who are providing the direction and also the prioritization to ensure that these sorts of topics are being considered when we are building the technology. Because I think, like, if you think about the case of only white men sat around the leadership table, like, are they going to be thinking about these things? You know, privileged groups, it's not necessarily the first thing on their mind. And so I think having that diverse group brings new ideas, new ways of thinking, which can also then look to make sure that diversity is tackled head on. So I think from like a culture and a business strategy perspective, that is important. When it also comes to the technology and how it's being built, like there is research coming out now that shows many different sort of aspects of bias and testing for that across many different types of generative AI technology and some of the major large language models that are out there at the moment, that a lot of AI solutions are being built around. Yeah. And so it's really important when you are testing and looking which large language model to use, like understand that some show more bias for certain situations than others, and so be really rigorous with your research and what technology you use as a starting point. And then I think just on that as well is like make sure that you go into when you're building your technology recognizing that bias exists, okay, and so it's for us to then start to think, well, how can we overcome that by rigorously testing our own technology as well? And this is something at Speechmatics that we've really started to focus on now, which is really understanding, like, can we test our tech with the mindset of, different sections of society and testing as a man versus a woman or whatever it might be. And that kind of gives that much more rigorous and robust approach to see where we can identify bias and then be able to do something about it after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how much of an impact do you find it has in terms of when it comes to companies hiring or even just trying to implement that sort of like workplace diversity? And then what companies do to sort of counteract that?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because there is some research that's actually just been released recently that shows a certain situation where bias is quite present within large language models, and that is within like vocations or career choices depending on what gender you are. And so the research that was done recently shows that actually when you start to prompt various different large language models, they tend to be quite biased towards, I guess, like the stereotypical jobs that men may have versus a woman may have. So if I was to say, yeah, my name is Lauren, and what's the most likely job that I have, it would say potentially homemaker or nurse or caregiver, those very stereotypical female roles. But if it was a man asking the same question, it could say pilot or astronaut or CEO of a business. And so these have been quite interesting biases that have come up across many different large language models, and actually shows even slightly greater bias than the actual labour stats out there for what the ratio of splits are of different roles today. And so it's really important that businesses recognise that, because probably, as you know, in your industry, Malika, like a lot of businesses are now using AI, whether that's in CV screening, hiring decisions, performance reviews as well. And so if this bias is being fed into those frameworks, is this potentially impacting and putting more of a glass ceiling on certain sections of society, females versus males being the one we're talking about today? So it's something that businesses need to recognise and ensure that all the great work that they're putting in around DE&I may be thwarted somewhat if they're using technology that may have some bias in it at the moment.
Yeah, so it's like as though, yes, AI is a great technology, but you can't really just solely rely on that alone. You kind of still need an extra pair of eyes.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that is where AI is today. Like, it can be very supportive of people and what we're trying to do, and definitely take the mundane out of a lot of the tasks. However, it still requires that sort of human intuition, creativity, and also, I guess, like checking around ensuring that it is doing what it says it should. And this was actually quite prevalent recently. I won't mention the brand name, but a big tech company started to use their own AI models in their hiring processes for software engineers. And they found that they were only getting male candidates come through to pass the screening stage to the first stage of the interview process, because the AI was actually weeding out females because of some of this bias that had crept in. So they had to obviously stop that and kind of go back to their original hiring process. So it's just interesting that we just need to be aware of this. Not saying that AI doesn't play a role at all, but we have to have that human checkpoint to ensure, that bias isn't present.
Of course. So just kind of going beyond the gender piece, I was thinking about this the other day actually. So obviously when I was like studying at school, we didn't have ChatGPT, we didn't have any of these like AI tools. It was simply pen and paper and reading books from the library.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you sort of feel, that's impacting children today, and what are the potential long-term effects of biases around children when it comes to AI and their sort of career perceptions?
Yeah, and I mean, I think this ties back to my point around AI going mainstream now, is that it is being used by our children. It is being used in school as it is today, as you say, with homework, for tests, whatever it might be. And so we just need to be aware that our children are consuming this data, this information, and very young ages, they're like sponges. And so some of this bias may be being fed into our children, and how they may be then making decisions or thinking what they can and can't do, and that impacting their future. I mean, you can imagine if you had a daughter who was using ChatGPT or whatever it might be, and going, what should I be when I grow up? Or what could I be when I grow up? And given roles such as, you could be a nurse, or you could be, a stay-at-home mom, or whatever it might be. These things will impact that. Well, I want to be the next CEO of big company or whatever it might be. And so I feel like these are the things that we just need to be very, very mindful of, even more so, I think, than on the business side, like the impact that it could be having on our children, and ensuring that we are doing as much as we can to give that level playing field so that everyone can feel like they have the equality to succeed in the future.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, of course, I do feel like as a society, over the last few years, there is definitely like more, men taking jobs as nurses, for example, and more female CEOs, etc. The thing that does bother me though, there is still a lack of women in technology businesses. That is the reality. How do you kind of see that affecting AI progressing and AI development around that?
Yeah, you're right. And this is pretty concerning. It was quite a concerning stat that I found recently around this, because, there's always been this gender inequality in technology. And I think where we are today now, it's about 25% female representation versus 75% male within the broader tech sector. But when you actually look at AI businesses and take that out specifically, and then look at the leadership team ratio within those businesses, only about 10% of those are female versus male. Yeah, which is pretty scary and horrifying. So I think, this ties back to my point before about prioritizing bias. If you only have privileged groups in that leadership team, are they thinking about this? Like, is this a business, like, top of the business agenda at the moment? And that's a concerning part, really, is that you don't have those diverse voices. With concern from different backgrounds, can add different kind of lights and creative thinking to innovation. And again, we've seen a huge amount of innovation in AI, but what more could be achieved by having a much more diverse set of voices around those leadership tables? So for me, it is the concern around prioritization, really. And is this really something that's being thought of at the moment and this is just women as a group we're talking about, only 10% of women are in the leadership team. And again, for me, that's why, at Speechmatics, I feel very proud and I guess privileged to be on a team that is pretty diverse. Our CEO is a female as well. And so for us, this is really encouraging that we're, thinking about this on a sort of top level business strategy perspective, as well as, how we build our technology.
What can companies or people do to make sure that more women are opting in to join AI organizations, or perhaps give us an intel as to how Speechmatics managed to fulfill that?
Yeah, it's tricky because it's not just getting more women into tech, but it's also the development within these businesses to ensure that we have more women at leadership level as well. And I think that's kind of it's quite tricky, because I think that there's the confidence piece, first of all, that I've noticed, it's definitely present in me in my career of like, almost everyone's heard of imposter syndrome now. It's real, but I feel like there's that sort of self-belief that's needed to kind of push yourself to the next level that sometimes as women we're kind of holding ourselves back. And so one of the things that we Speechmatics have done quite a lot, and I think could be really, really helpful, is looking at how we build more like mentorship programs, whether that's internally or externally, to ensure that women have the support structure needed to take that next step. Mentors have been fantastic for me in those times where self-doubt has crept in, and you need that kind of like sounding board to go to, like, am I doing the right thing here? Does this make sense? Yeah, exactly. So I would say like that is something key that business definitely need to think about. And the other thing as well that I think is kind of like, a leader can come in any shape or size. And I think we've all been kind of brought up in our careers to think of leadership in one particular way, and that is quite a over extrovert masculine sense of leadership, and so it's actually sort of challenging some of those norms and those stereotypes around leaders having to be like that, and actually not just women but anyone in a business seeing that the many different leadership styles can be successful, and often it isn't the brash loudest person that takes over the room type that actually has the most success and drives the most success for the business and able to motivate and inspire people as well. And so I think those couple of things are really like what we need to focus on, both getting people in the business and then how we sort of develop people into leaders as well.
Yeah, that's so true. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
I feel like as women, we do have that imposter syndrome a lot, but also we need a lot of reassurance. So it's really just about, having those in place. And that obviously takes me to my next question. With AI, what can AI do to sort of make sure that they are including inclusivity and diversity? Like, what are the hopes with regards to the future of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really positive future. And I know today we've talked about bias and some of the concerns, but I think what we're seeing so far in AI is that there's a huge amount of opportunity that can come from this. And it's really now about how we harness the strengths and the great areas to ensure that everybody is able to take that opportunity and not just a small section of society. And so this is where, looking at bias isn't necessarily like looking at the negative side of AI, but it's more like how can we just include more people in enjoying the technology, getting the most out of the technology, and it is enabling more people to achieve great things in life. So I'm feeling very positive about the impact that AI can have now in the future. It's just that we need to be thinking more expansively around the areas where things need to be thought about a little bit more, challenged, tested, to ensure that a greater section of society gets value from AI.
And how can we sort of like come together as a community to make sure that we fulfill and achieve that?
And I would say like the AI community tends to be good at sharing and collaboration. I think that is one positive thing. So I think it's just continuing doing that more. And I think the team at Speechmatics, particularly on our engineering side of the business, do quite a lot of that knowledge sharing. Certainly helpful for people in other parts of the business to learn more and learn what's happening, whether that's in research or the next big thing or whatever it might be. But I think more broadly sharing across the different technology businesses on what's working, what's not at the moment, showing that greater level of visibility so that we can all work on it together.
I mean, someone like you is very inspiring, even for me as well, to have someone like you on the podcast today, especially as a woman in AI. Like, what advice would you give to women who are thinking about going into technology or even joining something in relation to AI?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it's like, don't let your confidence or lack of hold you back, because it certainly has done for me in the past, and I wouldn't want other people feeling like, oh, this is too big a thing, or I'm not a technical person. I'm not a technical person. I'm a marketer. I've come from a psychology background, I've done marketing, but I think, again, it just ties back to like the more ideas, more different like takes on the world that we can get within technology businesses, I think will really, really aid just the continuation of the innovation that we're seeing. But to my point before, like that it's then more accessible to a much broader range of people as well, which I think is really, really important. It's important for AI businesses that, yes, we are doing this for commercial benefits of our shareholders, but also there's so much power in this technology that we need to be responsible in ensuring that this is also benefiting society more broadly as well, which again is a very kind of motivating thing for people to get out of bed in the morning and think like, I'm actually doing something good, like for the greater good, not just for like commercial benefit as well.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And that's really amazing. And what it'd be good to know as well is perhaps a bit more about your story. I know you introduced and told us a bit more about your journey going into AI, but is there a particular moment or some point in your career that you're really proud of that you'd be open to sharing?
Yeah, and I think there's a couple of things. There is a couple of times where I do feel like we as a business, whether it's at Speechmatics or my previous company that I worked with in the AI space, where we were able to offer something much more tangible back to society that was then putting that technology to good. So, previous business I worked at, we built some AI solutions to help a charity which was within the UK that looked at distributing food out to homeless people. And so what they would do is take food in, whether that was from supermarkets, surplus food from wherever it might be across the country, into their distribution centres to then be able to redistribute out into society. And so we built some AI models that actually helped optimize that for them so that they were able to distribute it in a shorter time as possible and actually reduce the waste as well. So they weren't having to throw away as much food as they were doing previously. And so more people were able to get access to this, get the food that they needed. And so the whole operation ran a lot more smoothly. And so actually just seeing that work like go into society and see the outcome on society, that was really, really inspiring. Not just for me, but across the team that was working on that project. And I think particularly for a lot of the data scientists and ML engineers out there, often they are so removed from the actual outcome of what their technology is doing. It is really, really quite powerful for them to be able to see how this is impacting. And I know at Speechmatics, our engineering team are always saying like, how is this benefiting our customers? Like what are they getting out of this? And so these sorts of moments are really, really fantastic. And similarly at Speechmatics, we're doing a project, can't give too many details because it's not actually launched, but a project at the moment, which is also helping disadvantaged learners as well, and how how they're getting a support utilizing AI to be successful at university, go on to great careers. So that's also really fantastic to see how that's impacting those people.
Love that. And I love that. I can really, see the passion that you really hold, for Speechmatics around this topic. So thank you so much, Lauren. Like, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on this podcast, and it's just been really inspiring to hear about your story and also your opinions around this very important topic.
Fantastic. Thank you, Malika. It was great to be on the podcast too.
Likewise.